I applied to a lot of colleges, but I decided I was going to go to American University in Washington, D.C. I graduated from a pretty important public high school in New York City, and I was coming to Israel to understand what it was like to be 18 and Israeli. I wanted to do the most authentic possible program that I could find, an entirely Israeli program with no Americans. I wanted the real experience. And the summer before that, I had gone on a summer program called Nisiya. And all of my madrichim and the director of the program all suggested that I look into Mechinat Bet Israel, which is a gap year program for Israeli teenagers who are taking a year off between high school and their military service to learn together and live together and create community together and volunteer in a low-income neighborhood on the edges of Jerusalem. I decided to go there with the intention of coming back to the US, but after a few months, I realized that that wasn't really what was in the cards. Bet Israel was this unbelievable, teeny tiny little ecosystem in the middle of Israel where people had come together to raise low income, like they came to Gilo with the intention of using whatever social power they had coming from outside to make Gilo a better place for the people who lived there. They had no intention of gentrifying it. They had no intention of imposing their needs onto the residents of the community. They had every intention of coming in and becoming a part of this really diverse, relatively underprivileged community and helping them raise themselves, helping them raise their quality of life in order to do what the residents needed, not what the community needed. And I saw a lot of power in the work that they were doing. I saw a lot of chesed in what they were doing, and I really loved learning with them because everything they did was entirely out of love. They had this, they still do, they have this unbelievable ability to really love people just because they're there and they are the children of God and they make the world a better place by contributing what they know and who they are. And I learned a lot from that style of service, which was different than anything I'd ever seen before. So in November of 2016, when Donald Trump got elected to be president of the United States, I got kind of hit by this wall of feeling like the world has really, really changed with this decision that the American people made, and it would impact pretty much everyone in the world, whether they wanted it to or not. And I needed to reprioritize. I needed to think differently about how I was going to live a life of service and a life of value, and how I was going to do something good in the world with whatever education I would get and whatever time I had to live on this planet. And Bet Israel taught me that doing humble work in a small place is the biggest and most impactful type of change that you can make. And living where you are and in the moment makes a really big difference. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to be with people who I really loved and who really loved each other and who really loved the Jewish people and felt like their lives were a greater service to the bigger Jewish picture of the state of Israel. And so It's not that I was running away from the decisions of the American people. It felt like I had reprioritized what I needed to be doing with my life. I needed to prioritize my community and the Jewish people, and do whatever I could to contribute to the state of Israel, because the state of Israel is a really complicated place and a really complicated dream that the Jewish people always had. And I really wanted to be a part of that because I could. And that's kind of a miraculous thing in and of itself. So after a lot of going back and forth, I decided at the end of November that I was going to make Aliyah.